Welcome to KB Cast, the podcast for security executives, interviewing people from around the globe on how organizations can operate smarter and stay safer. Here's Carissa Breen.
Today, I spoke with Thomas Mynott from With You With Me about his experience of being in the military and then transitioning into the corporate world. We discussed how veterans add a lot of depth and versatility to any cybersecurity function in an organisation. With You With Me is dedicated to building talent pools and looking at trends in the market that need the right types of people, veterans, in areas that mirror many functions of the Defence Forces. Stay tuned if you want to know more about the benefits of hiring veterans. Thomas, how you doing?
Carissa, I'm doing really well.
I'm really excited to have this podcast because I know it's something that you and I have spoken about doing.
Yeah.
We finally got around to doing that. I know you've had a baby in between.
Yeah.
You said that you're still feeling pumped. You're not exhausted yet.
I'm doing kind of pretty all right, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The little fella, we called him Archie. And,
Love it.
He's treating myself and my wife pretty well at the moment, yeah.
Okay, so you're not sleep deprived yet?
Not yet. But I'm sure it's going to come.
Awesome. So what I wanted to talk to you today was more about a bit more about your background, but then also more about what you guys do as a company, and then sort of leading into the recruitment side of veterans.
Yep.
So let's start off about your journey. And I know that you've had quite an interesting one coming from the military yourself. And we, on our podcast, we've also had a number of ex-military people as well. So how has your journey been so far?
Yeah, so I guess my journey probably starts 10 years ago from today, and that's when I actually joined the military. Mm-hmm. I came from a really small country town, and I know that you and I have sort of bonded over that.
Yes, regional people,
people. And for me, that was my way out. And I joined the military, and I went in as an officer, which is kind of like a middle management, I guess, and absolutely loved it. That job treated me really well. Best job I ever had. I got to be a combat leader. Specifically, I was looking after combat engineers. That's what I specialised in. Mm-hmm. And, I was lucky enough to get an overseas deployment to Southeast Asia, specifically went to Timor.
Okay.
And, so I was like 21, 22 at the time, running around East-Timor, providing a lot of support to over 500 Australian ADF members over there. Mm-hmm. Also providing support to the UN and to the local East Timorese government and police force. And I guess what's unique about that particular experience was that I was only 22 at the time. Mm-hmm. A lot of responsibilities, in charge of a lot of people at the time. And I think when we start talking, and I'm sure we'll get into it a bit later on in the podcast around, what are some of the transferable skill sets of a military veteran? Well, it's like, well, when I was 22, I had a budget of a couple of $1 million, in charge of a lot of people in a foreign country, dealing with some pretty complex problems. Mm-hmm. I don't know what other 22-year-olds were doing. They're probably finishing...
Drunk on a beach somewhere, probably.
Probably, which doesn't sound terrible, by the way. But that was my experience, right? Mm-hmm. I did that... progressed in my military career. Mm-hmm. One of my last jobs I did in defence was actually headed up a recruiting centre down in Wollongong.
Got you. Okay.
And loved it. Got to see, I guess, the other side of the fence where, how does defence go about recruiting people. Mm-hmm. Turned out I was just really good at it as well. And there was a certain sales aspect and a certain sort of corporate aspect to that
a hustle.
role. There was a big hustle.
Yeah, 100%.
And I wouldn't say that I'm the quintessential army officer, for example, but for me, I love the recruiting side and I love the hustle. And I ended up when I finally decided to leave defence. It was a really weird journey. I'd love to kind of get into that in a bit further on in this conversation because it's not unique to me. But let's just say when I finally left the military to find my next career, it was really hard. Because
you did a stint in recruitment though, didn't you? A little bit?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I mean, it was the only job I could find at the time. Look, I was really lucky. These guys did still take a punt on me, but like we.
Why do you think that is?
I'm just a really good salesperson. Like I managed to sell myself into that particular job, but I didn't know enough about who I was as a person.
Got you.
And I didn't know enough about industry and all the different industries and what I was going to be good at next. Like I'd been trained to be a combat officer, and now I'm like, what? I did this recruiting in defence as well. I'm maybe good at it. Is that my future now? Is that what I'm going to do? Am I going to do recruiting, or do I, should I pursue project management maybe, or management consulting, or should I what are my options and what am I going to be good at? It's a really hard question to answer for military people when they leave. Is like, what am I going to do next? And you got to think as well, like there's a real personal achievement when you're part of a big organisation, a really meaningful organisation like Defence. Like it's a very meaningful job. And when you have that kind of pride and passion in something like that, and then you leave that organisation, you leave that society even, and you're trying to create a brand new identity, it's like it can be it's a really challenging thing to do. And it's just hard to even know where to start next. So I fell into recruiting like I think a lot of recruiters do. This company did give me a chance. I learnt a lot in that first role, but I suffered what we refer to here at With You With Me as underemployment.
Got you.
Again, when I was 22, I was leading whole teams in charge of millions of dollars worth of assets and budget. And now here I was earning half of what I was on in defence, with no responsibilities, being given menial tasks to do each and every single day. So, look, that was me landing out of defence. I ended up I met with Tom Moore, who's our CEO. During my transition journey, I met with Tom Moore, and he'd just started this company With You With Me. It was basically just him and two co-founders who were supporting him from a distance.
Cool.
And he jokingly said to me one day, he's like, "Hey, Thomas, when recruiting doesn't work out for you, come work for me."
Yep.
And so after my first stint in recruiting, I called him up and said, "Tom, you still need me to come work for you?" And he said, "Well, yeah,
yes.
Absolutely, come." And so that was the start of my journey at With You With Me. I was the first official employee. I like to call myself patient zero.
Got you.
So the With You With Me journey, I guess, has been pretty interesting over the last. We've officially kind of existed for 3 years now, unofficially for about 4. And that journey, particularly over the last 3 years, has been incredible. It's been a lot of fun, but not easy, but fun.
And I can totally relate to that in terms of the first couple of years in running any business is extremely hard. Especially when you are doing something different, especially in Australia as well, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're doing something different. We don't really like that. Yep. You're coming outside the lines." Yep. And I think that's where you and I sort of seen eye to eye originally, because we have a vision and we have a goal and we just go and do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't really matter what's in the way.
Yep.
And I think that's really important, especially for, I think, even veterans, but also entrepreneurs as well, that are looking to sort of break this industry, that you have to have a lot of resilience about you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to jump into what you guys are doing today and what your organisation does.
Yeah.
Can you explain to our audience what you guys actually do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start with why we do what we do.
Yep.
So we are all about solving veteran underemployment. That is our primary focus and mission here at With You With Me is solving that underemployment, which is what I suffered when I left. And then second to that is, it's not just veterans that suffer from underemployment. A lot of people in Australia suffer from underemployment.
What do you think that is in terms of like a broader...
Well, look, there's a lot of macro things going on right now in our economy. Things like the gig economy, which is kind of like the casualisation of our workforce.
Yep, a lot of contracting.
We haven't seen wage growth in the last number of years. That's having a massive impact. Yet the cost of living is getting more expensive as well. And so because of people, we're not growing in the right industries either. And then there's a real shortage of talent in particular industries, and people aren't filling those roles that have been pushed into the wrong industries. And the example of that is, say 12,000 university graduates leave universities each year, and only 2,000 new law degree jobs are created each year.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot of people.
So what are those people doing?
What are they doing?
Well, there's a joke, now in Sydney, which is you have to have a law degree to be a barista.
Right, okay.
Like it's a joke, but these
There's
things
quite
come
a large
from truth.
surplus of people that are not getting jobs.
Absolutely. So, let's just think about university graduates for a second here. Like, talk about a massively underutilised group of people. Some like these are probably, not only are they our future, some of these guys and girls are just crazy smart and really, really driven. And they've just been taught some great stuff over the last 4 years. You know, they invested a huge amount of their personal time and money to get educated, to be ready for the workforce, and then the workforce throws them nothing, you know, and so like that is underemployment. And veterans coming out with huge years of experience, a lot of certifications and qualifications. Again, getting looked over. What about return to work mums? Oh, you've been out of the workforce for 2 years now.
100%.
You know, like what about those people? What about career shifters? What if your industry is now declining? What do? You've got all this usable experience and you can't go anywhere. What about people, the elderly? People who are, 60 years old, for example, and no one's giving them a job right now because, hey, you might only have 5 more years left. We don't want to take that risk, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
But this person has got, 50, possibly 40 years worth of
experience,
knowledge and experience, and just wanting to work. Like, talk about underemployment, right? So,
and that's another big area when you and I met at MIT originally.
Yeah, that's
about
right.
what you guys do, actually looking at areas, and I think you got up and you explained about cybersecurity, data science. These are the areas where you guys believe that they needed to.
Yeah, so it goes into perfectly. So, that's what we're solving, and then how we're solving it. Like we call it building talent. That's our catchphrase here. We build talent. That's what we do. And the way that we're building talent is, online courses. They're great. They have to be engaging. They have to be up to date. But then we're specifically focusing on particular industries and career types that are in huge demand in Australia. Because guess what? Like if you're not competing against anyone, experience is irrelevant now.
Yeah, 100%.
Or if people are screaming out for talent, cyber security is a perfect example of this, where there's some great online cyber training courses, right? And we're taking university graduates and veterans through our training, and we're deploying them into that industry across Australia. And the reason why that's been successful is because, well, who else are you going to choose?
Exactly.
Like, there's no one else. No one else even has experience.
No,
right
they
now.
don't. They don't.
So we build talent is our solution to solving underemployment, and it can work for anyone. So if you're in a declining industry, you do need to look at actually reskilling yourself.
Do you think that scares people?
Maybe some people, but I think what doesn't scare people is structure and known progression. And what I mean by that is, if you need to change, that can be scary. But if somebody's telling you how to change and where that change is going to lead to,
they're fine.
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. So in that sense, and that's what we do here at With You, With Me, particularly with the veterans. We help them with that transition, to help them adopt the change and think of the change in a positive way, not a negative way. And of course, we are massively outcomes focused here, meaning like we're thinking about getting that person a job, which means that the training we're giving them isn't just like fluff. It has to be getting that person day ready for day one. Yeah, of course. So I guess that's our mindset. So we're solving underemployment, and we're doing that by building talent, specifically focusing on high growth areas in Australia.
Awesome. And that sort of leads me into my next question about the adoption to companies hiring veterans. Do you think this is slower in terms of the uptake than what you would have liked?
Yeah, but only because we're massively ambitious. we probably would have wished we'd solved the problem 2 years ago, or even day one. But look, you know what? There has been a massive change in tide in the past 3 years towards the whole veteran community. So, Malcolm Turnbull, one thing he absolutely did well for the veteran community, started his Prime Minister Veteran Initiative, right? And essentially, in essence, that created veterans as a diversity group here in Australia. That's really important when you start talking about corporate social responsibility, and certain companies wanting to actually reach out to the veteran community, bring them in as part of their own diversity programs, and that sort of stuff. But what it did was shine a massive light on veterans, specifically around the transition. So before that, the veterans were really being looked at because of issues like PTSD.
Got you.
Pre-2016, there was some incredible campaigns happening around bringing awareness to the Australian community around veterans suffering from PTSD.
Yep.
Whilst that's that's a real issue, and it still is. It massively detracted from the value of all the veterans. Now, we're talking PTSD's impacts maybe 2% or less of the veteran community. I think it's even less. And so then 98% of veterans were kind of almost being at the time tarred with the same brush.
Got
of
you.
People thinking, oh, veterans are, like, who are veterans?
Got you.
Like, are they people still that fought in Vietnam? Is that who we're talking about? Or,
Okay, yeah.
Or is it people who went to Afghanistan and are now mentally broken? Is that a veteran? And so one of the biggest things we've had to do in the last 3 years is help rebrand what a veteran is. Like, I love going into meetings, talking about veterans, and then explaining to everyone in the room that I'm a veteran. And
What's the response look like?
They just look at me. They're like, but you're too young. You look too young to be a veteran. So, like, it talks to their psyche, like, or you just don't look aggressive enough. I'm like, well, you got to think that there's 330 different jobs in the military. A lot of them are trade-based or engineering-based or logistics-based. Not only a small portion are actually combat-based.
Yeah, that's right.
So, in essence, there's almost like, the military is almost like a dichotomy of society itself. So, the 2016, Malcolm does his veteran initiative program. It was great. Shone a light on veterans in the transitioning project.
Got you.
Space. And ever since then, there's been just like, you know what, like, I just want to do a massive shout out to Australian corporate to say, like, you guys heard it, and, like, yes, you're actually doing stuff about it, and they're not just kind of just paying it off. Like, we're seeing some real genuine efforts here. A lot of companies now have their own veteran initiatives, like hiring initiatives, and like, I'm such a big fan of that, and so I'm really, really grateful for where it's gone. Can more happen? Absolutely.
Yep.
I think what we've seen most recently is now the DCO, so DVA. Oh, no, I'm going to get this wrong, so I better not say it. But let's just say that there's a particular government body now that's gone out with a tender and are actually allocating money now to helping veterans in the transition to go and get work. So in that sense, like that's incredible. Like we think that is absolutely the right step towards helping solve this particular problem. Do I think the uptake has been as fast as I wanted it to be? No. But I mean, this is because I'm super ambitious. I wish everyone had a veteran program.
There's nothing wrong with that. So do you think the adoption was slower because, like we spoke before the podcast, that people are a little bit more reserved in Australia? So do you think that was sort of from a cultural point of view, behavioural point of view?
I think we all know, and everyone listening to the podcast, hopefully if you're Australian, you'll understand. We are a really reserved nation, aren't we?
We are.
We don't really want to be the first person to make a move.
No.
So yeah, look, that does absolutely slow down the conversation.
Sure.
But you know what? We're also a really caring nation as well, and I think we see that in some of our foreign aid and how much we donate to other companies, particularly as a local population. You know, when things happen abroad, we donate big because we genuinely care.
Yeah.
And I've never had a conversation with a person who didn't care about our veterans. So in that sense, look, Australians, we are slow to adopt new things.
Yeah.
It can be it can be really frustrating sometimes. You can see that they have the heart to want to help, and you think you have a solution to help them.
Yeah.
But there's always a lot of bureaucracy here in this country,
yes,
slowing things down.
A lot of red tape. A lot of different decision makers.
Always. But again, at least we're seeing things trend in the right direction, not the wrong direction. So.
And that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to interview you guys, because I have been following you guys for a while and I've spoken to multiple people within your organisation, and I wanted to bring more awareness to this because I think it's something that I did go to one of your early events in 2017 and actually spoke to the veterans, and he's like, I don't know why I can't get a job. I've got 20 years of military experience.
Right, absolutely.
And I think that's something that you spoke earlier about being from the country and stuff like that, and to me it sits close with me because I understand that feeling, and I wanted to bring more awareness on that topic.
Oh, thanks, Matt.
So moving along, I know there's a lot of talk about qualifications in the industry, plus chatter around hiring in terms of how many years of experience someone is to have before even being considered for a security-based role. What is your opinion on how companies should be embracing veterans?
Sure. Look, that's a really dangerous question because I know in the industry...
It's a safe zone, so...
Look, we know that in the cyber, particularly in the IT industry more broadly, like the opinions are really divided on certifications and qualifications. I'll tell you about more what I'm seeing.
Okay.
I'm seeing a trend away from the need to have qualifications, so things like degrees and diplomas, and a trend more towards having certifications.
Sure.
And then even more so, actually a trend towards technical-based testing during interviews, because actually what people really want is the person who's doing the technical job to be able to do it.
Yeah, of course.
So what we're seeing is an uptake in both aptitudinal, psychometric, behavioural, and technical-based testing up front to make sure that people can actually culturally fit in. They can they can learn new skills quickly, the right skills, and then also do they have the right skills to be able to do the job day one. We're seeing that, and then probably substituted by more certifications. Look, I think certifications are great, so much in the sense that it is a good entree. It's a great way for somebody who's transitioning into a brand new career to at least get a bit of an entree of knowledge and skills before moving into that industry. And at least with a certification, you can at least start.
Sure.
And, I think when I think about a holistic person from a recruiting perspective and a hiring perspective, I think of three things: experience, skills, and knowledge.
Yep.
And, at the moment, I think recruiters and hiring managers put way too much emphasis on experience.
Is that because they've sort of almost been... I don't want to use the word indoctrinated, but I'm going to say it anyway, simply because they've been...
Indoctrinated is the right word.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
I've seen it before. I've worked in large companies, and working with internal talent acquisition teams have found that we found someone and they sort of just was like, no.
I mean, I think there's nothing more ridiculous than seeing on a job description, 3 to 5 years of experience.
Yeah.
Like, what does that actually mean? And then 3 to 5 years, that's a 2-year experience gap.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you be so liberal about that?
Yeah, exactly.
What is it, 3 or 5 years? And then what do you expect somebody who's done 5 years versus 3 years? Or do you not expect anyone to progress from the 3rd to 5th year? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand either, because I've sort of always gone around the typical job requirements.
You're different. You just go straight to the source.
I just go straight into the main dude
we know
and be like, I want a job.
Yeah,
this is how I'm going to do it.
What
do I need to do to get the job? But I think it's something that needs to change face, because we're going to lose as an industry. And I've done multiple presentations down on this, because... like you were saying, I feel like people are just getting overlooked because they don't have 3 or 5 years of experience when they've actually got the experience. And I feel that perhaps the internal talent acquisition manager doesn't see that, or the hiring manager doesn't see it. And maybe they don't see it because they're bound by corporate guidelines and parameters. I feel when you talk to people, you can see the raw talent.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why, people would... when we think about recruiting, people recruit first through personal networks because they know the people.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's ironic is that when you hire through your personal networks, you rarely have a conversation around skills, qualifications, certifications. It's actually just about, I know this person, I trust this person can do the job, will help him or her to do the job. Yeah, we don't apply, and we trust ourselves to make that decision and make it and it's usually a right decision. Yeah, we don't trust ourselves to do that when we don't know the person. So that's why I think we rely on this concept of experience, but we're not breaking down what do you want that person to have in their experience? Because when you think about it, you might actually say, well, the reason why I want somebody to have 5 years of IT experience is because they've learned how to deal with customers. They've learned how to deal with complex problems. They know how to actually manage a team now. I expect them to do this. Well, a veteran has done all of that.
Exactly.
They got 5 years of experience in a different industry, but yet the same type of a role. So actually what they should be looking at is what skills do you have? And then what actual technical knowledge do you have? And is that technical knowledge, do we require that day one? Can it be trained before you start? Can it be trained? Can you do on-the-job training and still be useful
Yes.
During your probation, etc. So I think we're trying to beat the drum and tell a different story to HR managers and recruiters, which is around you got to think about talent really differently, and specifically in the cyber industry where we're crying out for good talent and we can't find it, so we're just stealing it from each other, which is crazy, or just counterproductive. We are the talent is actually out there. Just got to think about how you attract
outside
them
the box.
And how you acquire them differently.
And they don't have 10 years of experience. I'm like, where are we getting these people from? From pop plants? Because they don't exist. So they're 10 years of experience, 25 years. I'm like, who are these people? Because I have a number of people coming to me on LinkedIn saying, how do I get a job? Or I've got all this training. Actually, one was a veteran. I've got all this training. What do I'm still getting knocked back. And I'm not qualified enough to be able to say this is the way you should do things. I want to be able to spread awareness through my platform, through social channels. Because I feel that people are being overlooked. And I know what that feels like because I've been overlooked before. And now I just go straight to the main source. This is it. This is how it's going to be.
Yeah. And here you are running multiple businesses and you think, how many people overlooked you in your recruiting process?
Heaps.
And you know that not only could you have dominated your job there, you could have dominated your boss's job. And yet they just looked at your resume and they said, nah, doesn't have the experience. It just
100%.
It annoys me more than anything.
And it's something that I look back on retrospectively now that you mention it. I got knocked back for a role because I didn't have any experience using a CRM, but I was actually developing in Tableau and I was actually doing reporting and stuff like that. And I thought, I haven't done it, but I'm sure I could learn it simply because, hey, I've done this. Couldn't see that. Couldn't see past that. That's what I always say to people, it doesn't really matter. And it's funny because that company years down the track actually hired my firm to do a whole bunch of work.
That's the best thing in the world.
So I think that, yes, you get overlooked, and I've been overlooked before because I'm female and I'm a younger female and all these types of things, but I think now it's getting to a stage now that doesn't matter anymore because I've earned the street cred. I've earned my own stripes, but I still see a number of people being knocked back simply because they probably are just dealing with someone who maybe is a little bit cynical or maybe a little bit narrow-minded that should open their eyes up to be a little bit more like, hey, actually, this guy has some serious experience behind him. Let's give him a go.
Well, my shot across the bow is usually always directed at recruiters, talent acquisition managers, and HR managers. And I'll probably get in trouble for saying this because they are our ideal partners, but. It's actually the hiring manager. If you go to the line manager or the hiring manager, they all say exactly what you just said. You know what? I don't need them to have degrees or this, that. I actually just need them to be a team player, to integrate well, to be a fast adopter of new technologies and new ideas, and to be able to be conscientious and deliver results quickly. That's what they actually want. But it's not even the recruiter's fault or the HR manager's fault. It's they have their own like you said, own internal
bound
systems.
by policies. Yep.
You must have this and that and the other. And, I think it's really disappointing. But then the light at the end of the tunnel is when you see big companies like Apple and Google saying, actually, having a degree is no longer a prerequisite to apply for our jobs. EY recently put out an article that said they collected over 25 years worth of data and said there is no correlation between having a degree and being successful in a job. There's actually no evidence for it. So what I'd love to say to your whole audience, particularly if you're a recruiter or a HR manager listening to this, is why do you have particular barriers in place when it comes to recruiting, and could you be thinking about talent differently and actually filling all of your vacancies? Well,
that's a really interesting point because I know veterans have a background in navigating a battlefield. So why aren't they being sought out as aggressively as they should?
Great question. Look, it's a lot of it really comes down to awareness and people's perception of what a veteran actually is.
Got you.
And
so just so we're clear, can you please give the formal definition of a veteran so everyone is aware of that?
No, I don't want to do that because I'll probably get it wrong. But let me tell you.
Your interpretation of it.
So look. I mean, a veteran is anyone that has served in the military, so I think that's a point of difference. And that only actually happened recently internally to Defence, so they actually decided that if anyone who's served is actually now a veteran. It used to be anyone who had served overseas was a veteran, but now anyone who's served in Defence is a veteran.
Got you.
Which I think is actually a great thing because people willingly join Defence to serve and are therefore willing to deploy overseas and serve in a conflict situation if they have to. So I think even identifying somebody's willingness to do that, even if they didn't, is a great thing. So a veteran is anyone that served. But the typical veteran leaving defence is a 28-year-old male with a trade. Like that's the average. Now, if you extrapolate all the data, they are literally just a dichotomy of Australia. Like we have females, we have engineers, we have Indigenous, we have guys coming out with trades, we have IT, we have transportation, logistics. Yeah, we have combat as well, and that's why I joined, because I love the idea of blowing up bridges, which is what I was trained to do. Best job in the world. But like what's really ironic, I was literally just pitching this whole concept to a client just yesterday down in Melbourne, and I literally showed him photos, LinkedIn photos of veterans, and I said, and we played a quick game, which was, is this a veteran or a management consultant? Now,
really?
this company was a management consultancy.
God. Yeah, go.
And I said, is this a veteran or a management consultant? And they had to guess.
Okay, yeah.
The trick question was they were all veterans.
Got you.
But they thought they looked like management consultants because...
Did they get any of them right?
Because they're all veterans. Yeah. Like that's a veteran. Like, well, that's technically true. But it also looks like the guy was massive and ripped. But like the point of that exercise to that particular client was to help them with the perception battle around like what you think a veteran actually is probably only partly true.
Correct.
And then when we think about
so what do they think a veteran actually looks like then, out of curiosity?
Well, so I love to ask this particular question,
like a big ripped
right?
dude.
Like I used to ask you this question right at the start before we even started recording, right? Like, what do you think a veteran is? Your answer was right, but I mean,
thank gosh.
The I'll get one or two responses. Response A is somebody who fought in Vietnam.
Yep.
So some typically white guy who's probably in his 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
Or it's a combat person
who's
broken, or more like somebody who's really aggressive and violent.
Okay. That's a very big sweeping statement.
Both of them are veterans. Like, don't get me wrong, but the percentage is just so minuscule. Like the actual majority of us are probably working with veterans. You just wouldn't even know it.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think that also stems from Hollywood? Because I know in cybersecurity, 3D rendering in terms of hacking, that doesn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I remember you saying
things
that.
coming out of the screen and stuff like that. Like, I've never seen that personally.
Yeah.
So do you think it's just because of Hollywood and television that people have this perception and this stereotype that's built up in their mind?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's, partly true, but then also partly, when you just look, you watch the news, when we portray the military and particularly in active operations, we don't go and show the back-end logisticians moving tyres around.
Yeah,
That's boring. You want to go and you get shown the combat footage, right?
Sure.
So we assume that is what a veteran is and what all veterans are. And then actually, to be honest, I mean, when we think about veterans, most people think about the Army. People very often forget that we have, that veterans are also coming out of the Navy and Air Force.
Yeah, of course.
Most of those guys and girls will have, don't see hand-to-hand, active, aggressive fighting.
No,
these guys and girls are, some of the most incredible problem solvers in the world. I was talking to one Air Force logistician. It was her job to get, a widget from Australia into Afghanistan through multiple borders and she had to basically problem solve how to do, it was a critical part, a particular piece of aircraft couldn't get off the ground, which they needed, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, how do I get, item A to destination B in a short period of time? And the amount of the logistical complexity behind that is just incredible. And, for her, that was just Monday morning. It was...
Just casually.
It's just whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you try and go out to the logistics industry and explain how good veterans are and how well suited they are, there's no instant connection. So you have to start... You really got to get a veteran in there to prove how good these guys and girls can be first, which is a bit disappointing that I guess we can't... That people can't just understand straight off the bat that a veteran is just, it could be you, it could be me, and we just spent a lot of time helping people understand the transferable skills and attitudes, behaviours, and even some of the technical skills as well.
So can you provide some advice around adoption to companies who are looking to hire outside of the norm?
Yes. It all starts with a mindset. So you have to think differently first. And you have to be willing to think differently first.
And do you think when you say think differently, do you think that point of thinking differently is actually coming from small to medium-sized companies rather than your large enterprises?
No. Actually, I'm seeing it more from large enterprise
because they know they've got to move now.
I think so, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, they have the resources and the capacity to be able to take larger risks like that for to be able to build out their workforce.
Sure.
I probably see the most resistance probably comes from small businesses because they really can't afford to take that kind of... They can't hire the wrong person. You can never hire the wrong person.
Yeah, of course.
Veterans actually work exceptionally well in small businesses, but it starts with a mindset. Here at With You With Me, the way that we think about talent is we always start with data. So we've been testing veterans who have been coming onto our platform for the past 2.5 years. And I mean, like full incredible battery of tests, right? Like psychometric, culture, behaviour, aptitude, and technical. Why do we do that? We do that because with that data, we can tell the veteran what they're going to be good at. We can match that type of a profile to a type of a career and say, you're going to be a really good cyber analyst, for example, because you have high conscientiousness and higher to experience and you're curious. You make a great analyst. And then once we have that data, we can say, here's some training to upskill yourself. So you're skill ready. So now you can go and deploy day one into a cyber analyst role and off you go.
Got you.
So we start with data and we want businesses to actually understand their whole workforce from a completely objective point of view. Like, is this person in the right job? Is there a job that this person could be better at? Like, I always thought I would be a good project manager because of the background I came from within defence. I'd make a terrible project manager, like terrible. I'd make a great salesperson. No one, I fell into sales. I'm really lucky. No one would have told me, without data, people wouldn't have naturally gone, oh, you're from the military, you make a good salesperson.
Yeah.
So we always start with data. Then we move into career matching. Then we we focus on upskilling, and then we focus on deployment. Now that's how we solve the transition for veterans. But it turns out you can apply that exact same way of thinking and methodology to your internal workforce.
Got you. Okay.
We always talk to clients about if you've hired someone and you like them, and they like you, why would you ever get rid of them? If you have a new need within your business, have you thought about moving? We call it talent mobility. Have you thought about moving somebody from a declining part of your business to a growth part of your business? And then you just train them up and upskill them. So that turns out it works from an internal perspective as well. So look, it starts with, to answer your question, you have to be willing to think about this problem differently. And then we say you've got to look at it objectively. Use data to make objective decisions and then enable people to change.
I think that's awesome. I think that's a really scientific way of looking at things and not so anecdotal.
Yeah. Well, we think that's so. There's a bigger play going on here, and that is, as a company, we're positioning ourselves as thought leaders to solve the future of work problem. Now, future of work is a relatively new term that's kind of getting thrown out there. But I think we were talking about this before, right? At the MIT conference, which is like, as jobs become automated and augmented, and skills fade faster.
Yes.
And new jobs are created faster, and jobs are now becoming irrelevant. Like, how do we adapt to that type of pace and that environment? Well, we think that our way that we're now developing and our methodology is a genuine solution to that particular problem. And we're seeing a really positive uptake from our clients and from the veterans, and we genuinely think that we can have a massive social impact if we can get everyone on board with this.
No, I think that's a really cool message, and that's really powerful because I think, like I said, it's something that I haven't seen any or many organisations do.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to a lot of them before, and I think that it would be cool to see them really thrive in a different environment. Now, Thomas, I'd like to ask you one last question.
Okay.
What is your advice to companies in terms of the recruitment of veterans who have transferable skills that would certainly be a valuable asset to any organisation?
Can I just say, do it? Is that
that's an obvious answer, but to give a more elaborate viewpoint.
Yeah. So, look, the reason why we are doing what we're doing is because there's a real social issue that we're suffering from here in Australia around veteran underemployment. But it goes well beyond that now. It's actually talking about underemployment. So from an economic point of view, Australia is missing out on a lot of good people being in great jobs because we're underemploying them. And then the flow-on effect is we're not earning as much in tax because people aren't getting paid as what they should be paying, and the economic fallout is huge. So I think we need to start seriously thinking about, are we employing people correctly, and are we positioning our businesses for the future of work, and are we thinking about talent mobility in the right way? Are we thinking about how we can be finding the right data points on people and making sure that they're in the right job and creating them for success? So to, I guess, streamline all that into a single statement on how I think people should be thinking about veteran employment is veterans are going to be the future leaders that solve all of our world's problems. We're just going to be we're just 10 years away from that. And we just need more people to be more open-minded about giving veterans the opportunity, because I can guarantee you, if you can give a veteran an opportunity and they're in the right job, they will do exceptionally well. Let's put it that way.
You're spot on. And I think I've got a lot of friends actually who are ex-military.
Yeah.
And it's weird because someone actually thought I was ex-military. Maybe because
I would believe it.
Really?
If you told me that you were, you would definitely have been in electronic warfare or a cryptological linguist, a real creepy person in the dark, just kind of looking at people, going what's going on?
Oh, hey.
No, just I know what you did last weekend. So that if you told me
I
you
did that in
that,
real life, yeah.
Yeah, I would genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I get asked all the time. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm direct.
You are direct, yeah.
Yeah, and I go for what I want and just straight for the kill. So my parents used to say, she just goes straight for the kill.
Yeah, good. That's why I like it so much.
Well, Thomas, it was so awesome to have this chat with you. Where can people reach out to you if they want to have a chat? Yeah,
Krista, thanks. Thanks so much for having me on your show. And if people are interested in what we're doing, or anything that I guess we've been speaking about, you can reach out to us on our website, which is www.withyouwithme.com. Or hit me up on LinkedIn, Thomas Mynott. I'd love to have a chat.
Awesome. So, guys, if you are listening to this, Thomas is a very awesome person to talk to about this type of stuff and has a lot of knowledge. And if you are considering hiring veterans, I'd encourage you to reach out to him.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to KB Cast, the cybersecurity podcast for executives. We always value your support and would love it if you could leave us a review or a comment on your platform of choice, iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. And that's always appreciated. Till next time.